You know, for 18 months, I've traveled the US and Canada, and everywhere I stopped, they wanted subtitles. We finally got them for you. Maybe you can understand what I'm saying up here. To Mark, Brad, and Frankie, you humbled me. I'm telling you, I'm very proud of you, and to have you guys as my friends, and the fact that you stood up for me and nominated me. Thank you so much. And I'll tell you, I am so honored by the faith that you put in me to serve as your General Secretary Treasurer of our great union. But I also have to tell you that the support you've given me has emboldened me. It's emboldened me to fight harder than I ever have for our mission. And our mission, as I see it, I've got to see through my eyes my whole life. Sitting against that wall is my mother and father. And my father did 36 years on the job. And my mother was the daughter of a firefighter, the wife of a firefighter, the mother of 3 firefighters, and her only sister was married to a firefighter. She always said the only thing worse than talking to a firefighter was talking to 2 of them. And she would know. But I'll never forget a day back in 1981. I was only 7 years old, but I still remember it very distinctly. And it was my mother sitting in our kitchen with a phone over her right shoulder, an AM radio on the counter next to her ear, listening to the news. Because there was an 8-alarm fire in the Back Bay. The building had collapsed. 2 firefighters were killed. And she knew my father was on the first due engine. And I still remember the anxiety my mother had. And I can tell you now about our mission. Our families are so impacted by our job and what we do that what we're doing here today, this week at this convention, has as much impact on our families as will anyone in this room. And when I think of my own family, I know I couldn't be here without the rock in my life, my wife Katie, who does an incredible job not only raising my 2 kids, Maggie and Tommy, but also taking care of me and supporting me. Thank you, babe. I love you. Katie also knows a thing or two about our mission and about the fights we take on and how it impacts our families. 2 years ago, when our son Tommy was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer at 4 years old, because of the success Local 718 had in Boston, the Professional Firefighters in Massachusetts, and this IAFF has had, we were able to take Tommy to the #1 pediatric cancer treatment facility in the country. And I'm happy to tell you today, thank God, and we'll keep praying, he's a happy, healthy, cancer-free, soon-to-be 7-year-old boy. So when I talk about mission, when I talk about what we're doing here, that's where the rubber meets the road. That we can take care of our families and that we can get home at the end of a tour. Making sure that we're working safe is our priority #1. And when you look at the resolutions that are before us this week, that's exactly what we're doing. About 24 hours ago, I was sitting at the District 3 section at our table, Local 718, when my president, Richie Paris, got the call that a good friend of mine, Johnny Fiscaldo, succumbed to job-related cancer. Fozzie left behind a 14-year-old son that I talked with him often about how hard the inevitability of the fight he was in was going to be on his son. And that's the passion that we have to focus on when we chart the course and debate how we're going to solve the challenges we face. Fozzie also, and he wasn't shy telling anybody, was a great firefighter. He was humble, not that part. But he was also one of us. Fozzie had some problems along the way of his career. Matter of fact, he was forced to resign. And through our EAP program, got treatment, got himself sober, came back on the job, went on to help hundreds of other firefighters with their behavioral health issues. Fozzie's story is every bit of what this convention is all about, meeting our challenges head on. This is a historic convention for the IAFF. We're seeing the largest change in leadership since 1955 on our executive board. And we are seeing great legends of our union, deservedly so, move on, starting with who I can now call my predecessor, my good friend and mentor, Tommy Miller, who served at all levels of our great union. Tommy, God bless. And our district vice presidents that are moving on to well-deserved retirements after you did what we're all supposed to do, left it better than you found it. One particular DVP that we unfortunately lost January 1st of this year was A. Michael Mullane, a very dear, dear friend of mine, a mentor, an older brother, a crazy little brother sometimes, but someone who was so special. You know, Tommy Donovan from Cincinnati said to me yesterday about Michael, he said, you know, the ball players that played with Babe Ruth said they didn't know they were playing with one of a kind till it was over. And that's how I look at A. Michael Mullane. He served for 32 years on our executive board, a third of our 98-year existence. He was a model for passion, for fighting, for serving our mission of protecting our families. He was truly one of a kind. But as we turn over and new leadership teams come in, I'm very confident in who I'm going to be able to serve with in this next term of our IAFF, starting with our General President, Harold Schaperger, who in my opinion is the premier labor leader in North America, who I believe that when we look back in the history of our union, will go down as the greatest leader we've ever had. And I'm looking forward to standing next to you, fighting next to you, and serving our great union. Now, when we get together after this session, we start debating our resolutions and continue to chart the course for our future. Remember that it's about the members back home that we're serving here, who elected us to protect them. The neighborhood where I'm from, we're predominantly Catholic, which in this world right now offends people that I worship that God. And I gotta tell you, I'm offended by their offense. But the God The God that I worship said that there is no greater love than that of one who lays down his life for his friend. And God wasn't wrong, he just hadn't met us yet. See, we lay down our lives for strangers, and I think that he holds us in even greater esteem. And when I think about our members back home who are responding to boxes as we speak, and I think about the sacrifices they make, they entrusted us to protect them and their families. That's not a peace mission. That's a war mission. It's our job to fight for them. They deserve it. The firefighters down on Orlando Engine 6, in Monkston Engine 5, in San Bernardino Medic Engine 231, and the kids down the tip of Manhattan in 10 House. In my house, Engine 7 and Ladder 17, they were the first two companies at the Marathon bombing. They need us to fight for them. Every one of you to fight for them. You know, a Zulu king once said, a pride of lion led by a deer could never defeat a pride of deer led by a lion. Let's lead like lions. God bless, be strong, be you, be firefighters.